Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and hello, fellow Toastmasters. I've always been fascinated with food science. For years, I've read many articles and papers about nutrition. I've done extensive research on sugar, and I've come to believe that it is the source of many problems in the US and a great contributor to obesity. I believe that companies are majorly responsible for obesity. According to the National Health Institute, nearly 1 in 4 people are obese. Obesity is so prevalent it has become classified as an epidemic. Obesity is responsible for nearly 300,000 deaths in the US each year. They also conducted a study that showed that obesity is linked to low self-esteem and depression. 1 in 4 people in our country are depressed, they're suffering, and they may die an early death. A major contributor to this epidemic was the advent of high fructose corn syrup in the 1970s. High fructose corn syrup is a hyper-sweet sugar that is made from corn rather than sugarcane. It is much sweeter, but more importantly, it's much cheaper to manufacture. Not realizing its poisonous nature, companies embrace the sweetener, putting it in a bewildering variety of products, from soda to pizza sauces. We must address this public health crisis immediately for the health and well-being of everybody in our society. We must ban high fructose corn syrup. So let me tell you some facts about high fructose corn syrup. I'll discuss the current obesity epidemic and high fructose corn syrup's linked to it. I'll tell you about some foods that contain it, to tell you why we should make it illegal and what you can do to help ban it right now. So if you look at the slide here, you can see since the 1970s, our use and consumption of high fructose corn syrup has risen dramatically. Nearly 8,000% our usage since 1970. High fructose corn syrup contains the extracted sugars from corn, like table sugar, like sugar from sugarcane. More specifically, it contains 2 simpler sugars, glucose and fructose, which are bound together. Now, according to the BBC show, The Men Who Made Us Fat, fructose is easily converted to fat, whereas glucose isn't. So according to Doofy, who did research on high fructose corn syrup for the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, high fructose corn syrup contains both regular sugar along with vast amounts of unbounded fructose, hence the name. The body does not recognize this unbounded fructose, so it thinks that it has consumed fewer calories than it actually has. This leads to overeating and eventually obesity. The next slide. So this is a clear correlation between the advent of high fructose corn syrup and the rise in obesity. We're almost at 1 in 4, as I mentioned. So obesity in particular is linked to an astounding number of different diseases, including heart disease, diabetes, clogged arteries, as well as mental issues, as I stated. Obesity leads to depression. This was done by a study from S.A. French and his colleagues doing research for the National Health Institute again, which showed that a strong causation between being overweight and depression by those who are obese. Another study by Paul Poirier, again for the National Health Institute, showed that obesity is the cause of heart disease and other cardiovascular complications, such as heart blockage. Heart disease is one of the leading causes of death in the US. High fructose corn syrup, therefore, is a major contributor to death in the US. High fructose corn syrup meets all the qualifications of a poison. It is a toxic substance that, when ingested, can cause health problems and death. Next slide. So the problem is that high fructose corn syrup is in all kinds of products. It's impossible to avoid. As you can see up here, that's ketchup, which everybody knows and loves. It has high fructose corn syrup in it. Most soft drinks have high fructose corn syrup in as well. I believe that's Coca-Cola. So consumers, it's impossible to avoid. And the truth is, people will consume foods that are available and don't really care about the nutrition label. So it's up to companies like Kraft and Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, to provide the public with products that are free of poisonous ingredients. High fructose corn syrup is not safe and must be made illegal. It should be added to the list of banned substances. A society that is free of high fructose corn syrup, we would see life expectancies would rise as obesity is significantly reduced. The average self-esteem of everybody would increase, leading to overall better moods. People who feel good are less likely to act violent, so crime might be reduced by banning high fructose corn syrup. Better nutrition leads to better mental health. As another study done by the Department of Health in Poland, researchers showed that patients with major depressive disorders improved their symptoms by implementing dietary changes such as increasing the amount of fruit and vegetables eaten and decreasing sugar intake. This shows that mental health and diet are closely related. So to wrap it all up, high fructose corn syrup is a processed sugar extracted from corn, an alternative sugar cane. It exists in many foods that we buy. It contains huge amounts of unbounded fructose, a type of sugar that quickly turns into fat. This unbounded fructose is unread by the body, meaning that all the calories that you eat do not trigger the full response from your body, leading to overeating and obesity. Obesity is an epidemic, causing many deaths each year due to complications from cardiovascular diseases. We must ban high fructose corn syrup, labeling it as the toxic substance that it is. So to conclude, we have the power to stop this harmful substance. Next slide. Here are our California senators. Take a picture of their addresses. Write letters to these congressmen. Call them. Email them. Tell them that we do not want high fructose corn syrup. Tell them to pass legislation banning this horrible substance. Next slide. Pull out your phones right now and take a picture. These are some of the numbers that you can call. There's Kraft and Heinz, Coca-Cola Company. Tell them that we do not want high fructose corn syrup in our products. Tell them that we do not want to poison our children anymore. We can improve the health of our nation. Be sure to check labels on foods for high fructose corn syrup. If you boycott these products, sales will go down. They will stop producing products with it. Only buy foods and sodas that have high fructose corn syrup, that are high fructose corn syrup free. Your choices as a consumer make a difference. We can make a difference. We can stop this. Thank you.